Hello friends, my name is Alex Grekus and I want to welcome you to the Mysteries of Monterey. Today is going to be an enjoyable trek. We're going to Utah and we're going to visit an area called the Canyonlands. And what we're going to do is enter a canyon called the Barrier Canyon, which some people today refer to as the Horseshoe Canyon. Now the fantastic thing about this canyon is that it contains pictographs. Now ancient man has lived in this canyon for over 10,000 years. So I know that we're going to have a lot of fun today. So I invite you, come trek with me. Friends, this is considered somewhat of a desert area, but look at this. Even here, they have this wonderful foliage over here. Look at this beautiful greenery. And let me show you this flower over here, this desert flower, so to speak. Isn't this wonderful? I tell you, the high desert has many, many wonders to behold. This is very beautiful. And these are very soft, very soft. Friends, what we see here is an old cattle trough. This is still open range cattle country. Well, before us you can see the old, water tank, and you can see this piping right over here. It seems to run all the way down into the canyon. So it appears that they pumped water from down below in a canyon where there's a stream up here to this container, or this, water tank, and then from the water tank to the trough to feed or to water the free-ranging cattle. As I follow this path before us down into the canyon, I wonder, is this an original native trail, or was this a trail forged by man looking for wealth, for oil and other minerals? I'm not sure, but one of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to look here at the wall to see if I can see any tool marks which would indicate that modern man actually blasted this way, this roadway. That's what it looks like, this pathway into the canyon. I'm not sure. I don't see any evidence of tool marks or modern man. So this roadway, this path into the canyon might very well be a pathway that the ancients walked 1,000 years ago. Water has always been a source of life for man. It always was and always will be. And this is the answer of why the ancients came here to place their pictographs. They were near a source of life, water. As I was walking the stream bed, I happened to look up to my left, and I saw the first series of pictographs. There are no signs here telling you there is the pictograph. So you really have to keep an eye out. And I guess in some ways I was lucky to have glanced over and seen them. Now I know near this one on the opposite bank there'll be another pictograph. Well, let's take a look at this. Hey! Friends, let me show you something interesting. As I was walking along the bottom of Horseshoe Canyon, obviously there's this stream flowing through the center. That's why we saw the pipes from up below, or I should say above, where the water tanks were. And I just happened to glance down and look at this. There it is, my friends. There is the pipe that came all the way from the top of the mountain when we started our trek. Look at this over here. I tell you what, you know, looking at these pictographs, or the journey towards the pictographs, that's a history that's thousands of years old. But we have a history over here, you know, that's maybe only one, maybe even less, 100 years old. And I tell you what, the story that lies here is also lost in time. Who was here? Who laid the pipe? My goodness, look, here is the river bottom right here. And it had to go all the way up there to the water tank that we saw. That was a mighty effort, a lot of work, and as I said, that history is also lost in time, just like the history of the people who painted these pictographs in Horseshoe Canyon. In some ways, the parallels are very similar. Who were the people that laid this pipe? Why did they lay this pipe? What happened to them? What was the venture? Did it end in failure or was it a success? I don't know. friends, that's a wonderful panel here. One of the things that I've noticed, I have not found signs of life other than these pictographs. I'm looking for signs of where the ancients might have prepared food, or perhaps we can find signs of habitation. So I'm going to follow this canyon wall to see if we can find anything to indicate that people actually lived here full-time beyond painting these pictographs. So let's take a close look at these walls and these boulders amongst us. Let's look for signs of life. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Friends, you're seeing this at the same time that I have noticed this. Let's go up there and take a look. I'll show you what I've seen. This is great. Look at this over here. Friends, this over here is referred to often as a slick. Right over here. Well, friends, we continue our search for signs of life. As I said, we've found pictographs, petroglyphs, and those two grinding slicks. Let's take a look at what else we can find over here. Let's examine this boulder closely. I noticed two interesting characteristics. Look at this over here. Now to me this looks like a place where the ancients sharpened their tools. Right here, these hash marks right here, this is where they would take a harder stone and rub it or grind it against the sandstone here to sharpen the edges. I have seen this in the Anasazi cliff dwellings, the same practice used just like this. Right over here it appears to be a little bowl impression area. But this definitely, in my opinion, are hash marks where the ancients sharpened their stone tools. Okay friends, I'm hanging over a ledge, and do you see what I see directly in front of me? They almost look like a grinding slick, the ones that we've seen before, but they're on a vertical plane. So you have to ask yourself, well, what are they? Are they grinding slicks, but why are they so high up? It doesn't seem probable. But I would say more than likely, right here at the ledge, the ancients took their stone tools, maybe the heavier stone tools, the axe types, and probably ground them against the sandstone here to sharpen the edges. I would guess that this is a sharpening station for stone tools. Friends, one of the fantastic things about finding stuff is when you think you've found something and you've got it all, you'll turn around and you'll find something completely new. Oftentimes I have to go back to a place several times, and I'm always surprised at what else I can find. But look at this. Right there on the other side are some more what I'll call sharpening stations. Let me bring us in there. Let me zoom the camera in and let's take a close look at them. All right, here we go. Can you see them right before us? Look at the one on the right. Okay, I'm going to bring it in closer. Right there. This one right here was used for a thin tool. Let's call it a knife, or maybe a small axe. So let's take another look at this. Right here to my right, we see a sharpening station. And over here to the left, another sharpening station. But then let's take a look at the wall. And there are some wonderful pictographs right there. So we have an area that was definitely habitated by people at one time. You normally don't sharpen tools if you're moving along. This was probably an area where people lived at one time. Now we have to remember that archaic people were hunter-gatherers, so they normally didn't have permanent places to live. They moved along with the seasons and the flow of the game. as fortune would have it, while I was hiking the bottom of this canyon, I met a Park Service ranger, and I asked the ranger what is the story about the water pipes and a water tank that I saw. I also asked about the trail that led us down here to the bottom of the canyon. And to my surprise, I found out that this was actually built by oilmen. At one time, on one side of the canyon, they believed there was oil. So to get to that side of the canyon, they built a road. The path that we followed to the bottom of this canyon, like I said, was built by oilmen. Once they got to the bottom of this canyon, they built another road for the other side. And then, because they needed water for their drilling for oil well exploration, they laid the piping here into the stream at the bottom of the canyon to take up to the oil well. Well, guess what? After all that work, they didn't find any oil. And so they eventually abandoned everything. Well, the cattlemen in this area then took all the piping that led to the oil well and transferred that piping back to the other side of the canyon and then used it to provide water for their cattle. Now, another interesting bit of information that I learned was that at one time, sheep were raised in this canyon. There was at one time up to 4,000 to 5,000 sheep roaming the inside of Horseshoe Canyon. However, as you can imagine, they eventually damaged the ecology of the area. It was being overgrazed, and by 1970, sheep were banned, or I should say the grazing of sheep was banned from this canyon, and it is now a protected area under the National Park Service. Friends, I want to show you something very interesting. Today has been a real day of discovery. We have seen pictographs. We have seen signs of life of where the ancient sharpened their tools and possibly cooked their food. But see this ring of stones over here? This here identifies a dinosaur track. Now you might say to yourself, Alex, what are you talking about? Friends, this has been identified by paleontologists as a dinosaur track. Look at it right here. Here's one of the big toes right here. So this dinosaur, whichever type it was, had two big toes right here. And here's the back foot area. I tell you, as I said, it doesn't look like much, but it in fact is a dinosaur track.